When one dresses the opposition as monsters, eventually they'll see everything they do or think as evil and needing to be slain. Welcome back there, everybody. That was the... I got the mini soundtrack that came with a new Nihon Falcom game that came out, Ys 8, Lacrimosa Dana, and that song there was titled, fittingly, Lacrimosa Dana, the opening theme, or the opening version of the theme. And this is something I'm going to be talking about a little bit because that's what's been going on this week. But that was... I from the bit that I have played of it and stuff, that is a song I really like. I like the tone of it. It's got a very somber tone to it. The game hasn't quite gotten to that point, and if you want to know like certain kind of detailed points about it, I'm not gonna really get into like spoiler territory or anything like that because the game isn't even out in the States. That'd be pretty terrible move on my part. But I am daily, if I do get around to it, putting up just a kind of, today, for example, I put up 10 different comments about the game that I had, good and bad. So if you want to follow me on the Twitters at Motogato553, yeah, I'm totally plugging this first thing. And that sort of thing. But first off, I wanted to thank David for coming on and doing the episode and discussion with me. Not yesterday, but the last episode. I haven't checked it out. Check it out. It is the curious case of Futurama's Fry and the ship of Theseus. I think that's how you say it. But that just kind of ideas and stuff. I enjoyed it. I do apologize because Skype thought it was appropriate for the recording to be done with not my typical mic, the one that I'm using right now, but the laptop mic. So it was kind of crummy, and I tried my best to kind of remedy that. So I apologize, and hopefully I've learned from my silly mistakes, and it will not happen again. We can only hope, right? I think that will do it for that. As I said before, I've got the Lacrimosa of Dana, and for those who are wondering what in the hell Lacrimosa means, it is Latin for weeping. So, yeah, kind of going to be a sad game. I'm really curious how it pans out. I think I've played it for about 6 hours or so, and I mentioned this in one of my tweets, but there is a certain narrative element that is not pervasive throughout all Ys games, but is fairly common pertaining to Adol. That has not surfaced in this quite yet, and I'm kind of wondering if it will. And I'm not going to say what it is, of course, but it hasn't happened, and I'm actually liking it because of it. I'm liking how this is turning out so far. There's one scene like right off the bat that kind of makes me want to like gouge out and gouge. I don't even know. This was earlier, so I shouldn't be this brain dead. But there's a scene really early in the game that I just want to like gouge out my eyes and be like, this is so like typically dumb, like cliches. I think I mentioned it in the previous, maybe a couple episodes ago, about how cliches or tropes that not necessarily if you can turn them on the head, but if you're just using them, they can be really, really like just stunting development stuff. And there's a scene that's really bad about that right off the go, and you're like, oh. But the scene that Adol's a part of it, as well as another character. That other character, I'm not going to mention who it is, but that other character is having some very interesting introspective, and I like that, because the other characters so far are giving introspective about why they do what they do, and I wonder how much that'll bleed into what with Adol and stuff like that. I'm hoping so, because it would kind of help, because reading the mangas and play the games and stuff, but because you have a silent protagonist, and in this one you do make replies and stuff, so you can say some, like, you get like a couple options, and ones sometimes they're not so bad, but sometimes it's like one's really outlandishly wrong to pick, and the other one's like, yeah, you should probably say this. So some of the others are a bit more nebulous, and you can be like, oh, okay, let's go this route. I don't think it changes much of anything, maybe the interaction between, but maybe there's like a bonus if you answer appropriately and stuff like that. But the music so far, I'm liking it. I'm not liking it as much as Celceta and 7 quite yet. It's catchy, and like the opening theme, or the opening field theme, the first field theme, the Nameless Coast, it's really, really catchy, I think. A friend of mine, Matt, who I've mentioned before, said it sounded like an anime opening theme, and he didn't really care for it as much, which I can totally see that. I didn't even think of it until he mentioned it, but I can see that. But it's still catchy to me. So I don't know if maybe I just don't listen to a lot of it, so it sounds a little bit fresher or something. But some of the other songs are I'm really liking too. Like there's a forest valley theme that's come up. That's pretty catchy. And even like parts of the Nameless Coast have like different songs that play in like different sections, like like but the thing about it, certainly, and I should probably just leave it there. It's not like it's a review of the games, but I'm enjoying it so far, so that's always a good thing. I honestly did not know how to feel about it when I was seeing stuff for it, and Greg can vouch for me. Yeah. Even though I keep on calling him RPG Swagman, even though he's totally changed his name, I think it's like Wanderer, something Wander. I apologize, I forget, but he can vouch for me. I really wasn't. Had a bit of, not a bit, but a lot of trepidation towards this game, more so because I just, like, I enjoyed Celceta, I enjoyed 7, but I really just, maybe just in a funk for gaming or whatnot, wasn't really amped for much of anything. I mean, I'm still amped to want to play Doom, haven't got around to it, but I kind of got this more because I was like, you know what, this is, birthday game. So came out, and I mentioned that before, last week was birthday and stuff. So thought, what the heck, let's go with it. And so far, I've been pleasantly, I don't want to say surprised, but I've been pleasantly enthused while playing it, and want to get back into it. So I'm gonna try to make this one shorter so I can get back to it and play it some more. But I think that's really about it that's going on. Like, I haven't really. I finished chapter 15 of Sudraba, put that up online. So I'm about. I have about 410 pages altogether. So that's the handwritten wise. When you do it for the word count, depending on. Because it depends on like the dialogue and all that sort of stuff, but I was looking at something, low estimate 350, higher estimate 400, somewhere around there for pages per book. If I do the 350, it comes out to, I think, about 220, 230. If I do the higher count, the 400, it puts it about 192. So whatever's the case, it is pushed from I initially thought, oh yeah, I'll totally get this. This will only be like 90 some odd pages. I seriously thought that. God, this will be 90 some odd pages, and it has spiraled into a 200 plus page story. But yeah, it's going along. So I do want to put out here and I've put it on other things, but I should put this out here as well. So I want to thank Johnny, Hector, George, and Pete. Not in that order, but that's what it came to. It came to in my mind when I was counting my fingers as they crack because I'm getting old. But they, and I'm not saying that people should that listen to it or anything, but I do have a Patreon page for the writing stuff, and the money from that will go to helping me self-publish it. That's pretty much what that's there right now. And I greatly appreciate it from those 4 individuals. So thank you to them. If you do want to help chip in on that sort of thing, I'll leave a link, I guess. Write a note. But don't feel obligated or coerced into doing it. So that's more so out of the kindness of their hearts and wallets. I guess is the best way I could put that. Goodness. So that's it. The topic for today is put in the title and also kind of read out. I wrote up something real quick. It's probably very similar to another quote that's like on the tip of my tongue or somewhere in the brain area that I just can't quite remember. It kind of reminds me of the Nietzsche quote of, when you stare into the abyss long enough, or the abyss stares back into you, sort of thing. Sort of. That's kind of the idea I'm going to go with for the topic, as well as I can't even think of his name. What is his name? No, is it McKinney? I can't even think of it. One of the presidents. some president in the 1800s said something about not going overseas to find foreign dragons to slay, sort of thing. And I know I've kind of touched on this topic before, but I won't. This is what Rambling Weekly is about. Hopefully to kind of start somewhere and maybe end up somewhere new. So yeah, we're gonna cut to the second song on that mini OST, and that is the Next Step Toward the Unknown, and kind of a tip of the cap of the next step toward wars. I think it's Next Step Towards War. No, it's probably Toward Wars, because I always like to say towards, and nobody ever says towards. Towards that. But next song is Next Step Toward the Unknown. So listen to it, and then we'll get into the discussion. Welcome back there. So, like I said before, that was the Next Step Toward the Unknown, and I like the melody. I like the violin, but I don't know. There's something about it because I remember listening to this with Greg, because we are a part of the Falcom Brotherhood, but and he had passed me the link for the because I think I mentioned it before in the previous episode or two, where there's the demo for each song and everything, and I just didn't quite jive with it. Well, particularly this song. I don't know. For something about this didn't quite. And listening to it, the whole thing, it's a little bit more kind of up my alley. I'm like, oh, it's just not quite Salsetta E7 kind of thing, I guess is the best way I can put it. And this one in particular is that kind of way for me. So it's not terrible, just not quite up to maybe what I like. Kind of the same thing with Sen, like or Trails of Cold Steel versus Zeto Nao no Kiseki. It's kind of that same, I guess, stagger. I don't want to say drop off because it's subjective and stuff like that, but it's a hiccup for at least kind of my tastes in music and this. So yeah, so the whole thing with it, thing I mentioned right off the get-go and everything, is that the world has gone loopy. It has gone so loopy. I mean, I don't even try to reason what and why people do what they do, because that's because it's an exercise in futility. But for example, the Ghostbusters came out. I have no desire to see it. The new one came out. I have no interest in seeing it. Didn't care for the originals. As a kid, it honestly was one of the things that made me want to go outside, because that, like, the movies would always be on, particularly the second one. Yeah, the people say the second one's not as good as the first one. Don't care. Didn't like them. Thought they were dumb. I'd rather watch Ghost. I like Ghost. Ghost was a fantastic movie. That whole ending made me cry as a child. Probably still make me cry if I see it now. That aside, but that aside, I people are going to see it, and it's kind of funny, because what happens is you have like two really vocal groups. One saying it's amazing, it looks great, it's going to be awesome, and then you have this other group that's like, oh, this looks like dog shit, it's terrible, blah 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 blah. Funny thing is that when I think it's easier to be pleasantly surprised than it is to be disappointed, particularly with people nowadays. I think people nowadays are too fragile to let something disappoint them that they hold near and dear to their hearts. And maybe that's the same way I'm feeling about East 8 right now. Maybe I'm like, oh, it's alright, it's alright. I mean, maybe that's I would disagree, because I don't know. I think it's done a good job with what it's doing right now. But that is something to but it's something to keep in mind. And I mean, I think Final Fantasy was that way for me. Certainly, I tried to tell myself I would like Final Fantasy VII. I don't like that game. I've come around to Final Fantasy VIII, but I certainly didn't try to be like, I think it was more of a pleasantly surprised replaying it and going, I play 7 now, and I'm like, this game is really boring to me. I don't have any interest in seeing or doing the PS4 remake or anything like it. It doesn't interest me. It looks okay. The game doesn't look boring, but I mean, because it's different, so it's kind of unfair to be like, well, it's still boring, so it could be more fun to play, but the story is boring to me, and I mean, certainly there's things that they could tweak and stuff that might make it a bit more interesting, but in the same hand, this kind of comes down to, I don't have time for everything, so yeah, lost me with all the others, the Crisis Core, particularly Crisis Core, that game irritates me. Crisis Core, and the only reason why I even played that game was that ending battle theme. I love that theme. Theme's pretty great. Thank you, Banjo Guy Ollie, for making me see the light on that great song. But so you have people who are pleasantly surprised it is not the train wreck that they expected it to be, and then you have these other people who are like, yes, it totally, I was totally right, and this is the best movie. It may be even better than the originals, and blah 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 blah. Whatever. Usually when people say these sorts of things, they kind of bring up things that are very subjective. Oh, the humor was great. Humor's subjective. I get tired of people saying, well, it's funny. I find Frasier funny. Not, I mean, it certainly did well enough to last for like a decade plus, but I mean, it doesn't mean that it's everybody else is going to find it funny. Just because I find it funny doesn't mean friends of mine are going to find it funny. Fuck, I show there's there's like a goofy meme of Ned Flanders loading his gun, and it's got some like ridiculous line to it, and it's I think it's hilarious, but most of my other friends who I've shown it to are just kind of like, I don't get it. I don't know. There's just something funny about it. Maybe I'll use that image as the image for this sort of thing. But they bring up that, or they bring up, well, I like this character and stuff. And the thing that I kind of spurred me on to wanting to really talk about just this kind of idea in general is that we certainly got a lot of people who now are critiquing writing of movies, which I think is a hilarious thing, because if it's supposed to be a summer blockbuster, it's supposed to be. Look at, like, Star Wars. I'm not a fan of Star Wars. And I'm not a fan of space opera stuff. So it turned out to be what it was. I mean, that's okay, that's fine that they did that. But there are plenty of problems that you see with what it was. And like, it's funny because kind of Ghostbusters went through the same ebb and flows of almost just kind of carbon cut copy. But they pretty much cut and paste original onto this new one, and then just reskin it and then give it to people for current year. It's such a silly thing, and yeah, they do it with a thing that always comes to mind on these sorts of things. Is the modern adaptation of Romeo and Juliet that kept the same play, dialogue, and everything, but it was in a modern setting. Leonardo DiCaprio was in it and stuff, and I wish I could have thrown myself off of some of those buildings, because I thought it was terrible. But I mean, it's I don't know, and that's kind of how these sorts of things feel to me. They feel really, really wonky. For example, would I ever want to see the Conan the Barbarian remake that they did? Absolutely not. No. I mean, the original one was fine. Carry on the idea, I guess. That's, or make something new. That's certainly it's hard to when you make something new, because then if it gets blasted, nobody's ever want to. Well, we can't spend all the money to do that again, sort of thing, and that's an unfortunate thing, because then you're letting profit dictate creativity, and that's certainly, it can be used to great. To great levels if you have great artists actually guiding the hand and not just money guiding it, I guess, kind of, not all the time. But usually that kind of usually happens out there. But what you get with that sort of thing is this kind of this idea that, it's still bad, because now these people who are saying it, and either they come around and they're like, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Certainly there were problems with it, but it's no worse than any other typical blah, But then you get people who are so, I guess, so, what is the word I want to use? Just so, like, with righteous indignation towards it, they try to find, blemishes and dig into that. So, for example, you get all these people like, well, the dialogue was terrible. Or certainly you have people who are saying, like, the jokes aren't funny. And, well, you're pushing into subjective territory. I mean, that's, unfortunately, you can't just what's the science of a joke and all that sort of thing. No, if it's okay, like I said before with the trailer did not, I'm not a movie person really, so this is kind of unfair, but it did not move me to want to go see it. The end. I did not laugh during it. I did not think it was funny. It just kind of looked like, okay, like pretty much anything else nowadays. Just really, really bad writing. Which is funny that people kind of, and it's not like I'm some sort of be all end all, I know everything about writing. No, because if you read what I write, I'll be the first one to tell you, I think it sucks. Because, you know what? I'm a horrible person. And I always, or I'm very hard on myself. So, I just kind of, that's just kind of how I am with my own work, is that I'm very, very hard on myself. So when you get, and you can certainly point to people who worked on that movie as problems when they're pointing the finger of the problem to the audience. I've never understood that, where it's like, this is such a great thing and it only failed because you did not understand it. Like, and this is what I mean. They kind of dress up the problem and then they go and slay it because everybody wants to be some sort of like superhero of their lives. And certainly you are the main you are the main character of your story, but it doesn't mean that everything else that's in opposition to you is some sort of monster to be slain. That's ridiculous. And I think it's funny that you see the same sort of dichotomy playing out with things. I'm not going to go into too much political stuff about it, but in politics where you have this opposition, particularly in the States where it's binary for the most part, of, well, it's either you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, and then because of that, you just, anything and everything the other says is some sort of ridiculous statement. It's dumb, it's childish, and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, there's the truth is always somewhere in between. And instead of trying to go for the middle ground and trying to, understand and that sort of thing, it's like they all double down and want to like keep pushing the pendulum to further and further distances. And like you okay, for example, you have conspiracy theorist people who are always like, if only you understood, if only you knew like all the strings that are being pulled by this sort of thing, Alex Jones and all that sort of crazy stuff, and lizard people. But I mean, you have that sort of thing going on, and then it happens to be that people who pay attention to politics, but they let whatever badge they're wearing kind of like bleed in, the biases that they have bleed into what's going on and stuff, is that they turn everything into, well, if you understood you'd be this way, or if you understood you'd be that way, or, well, you're an idiot so you don't understand, or, well, no, you're a bigot so everything that you say and do is wrong. And it's just, I don't know what's going on. I honestly think it's come down to binary thought of, this tribalism of us versus them, and it is bled into not only just physical presence or, things that we like, but also thoughts that we have. They've turned into like this gross bastardization of tribalism, where instead of just, well, we lived close and this is you grow up in this group, this small knit group and everything, it's the internet has allowed for small knit groups of people who think the same to just kind of pat each other on the back and then kind of kind of be that way. But the problem is that when these ideas come to a head, unlike when tribes would go after each other physically, one of them ends up dying and is, brought to the sword, or, enslaved, raped, horrific things. And instead that doesn't happen with ideas, because ideas are just kind of like, well, it's an idea. I mean, people can shame somebody for an idea, they can try to stamp out an idea, but an idea is always there. Like if you have an image of titty sprinkles for whatever reason, it's like, I loves my boobs, but I mean, if you just have like an image of something, that's whatever, okay. If you have this physical force against another physical force, one of them's going to have to keel over. ideas that doesn't happen. It's an idea. I think Xenogears is a fantastic game. Not an idea that's shared with everybody, but it's there, and it'll always be there because it is not one that it can only come from. And this is what always kind of I don't want to say bugs me, but it always kind of makes me think. For example, people were just wondering, well, the Battle of Marathon saved, modern Western societies because it allowed for the Athenians to continue their democracy and all this from, like, unopposed from the Persian menace, blah, that sort of thing. But it's like, you would think that at some point it would still come to be. I guess maybe it's just like that there's always a possibility because those ideas are always there. It's just translating them from the innate innermost. I think with the story. The story I always kind of say is it's coming from like my heart. It's coming from within, but I'm translating it with my hand into the words I know. So in that translation from this innateness, this essence, things are going to be lost, or maybe not even lost, but different, and that sort of thing. And I kind of the same way I feel with ideas. They are coming from a place that's like already possible because you're just thinking. You're thinking of ideas. It's not ideas are not. Certainly you can hone ideas to make them stronger through things like philosophy and gaining new perspectives and different perspectives, and then kind of clashing them against one another and seeing which one kind of stands the test of time, test of actual society, what ones stand as the pinnacle in a perfect environment, sort of thing. But those ideas will be there. They're like, I think, therefore I am. Okay, yeah, somebody put that into words, but somebody translated something that, and who knows who, countless of other people who may have stumbled across that idea and then just thought it was something either ridiculous or, maybe they didn't even have anything to write with, or maybe it was even written down and lost to the, into the echoes of time, that sort of thing. And that's just, I guess, what kind of bugs me about this sort of thing is that instead of trying to like compete with the ideas that are laid out for people to kind of think about, what happens is that you have people pretty much picking sides on something, and then when it's you don't agree with these ideas, then obviously you are this, instead of ad hominem. They instead of trying to go for the ideas, the person's character is what gets called into question, and that doesn't have. I mean, much like with Ghostbusters, you cannot, as much of an asshat as the director may seem to be, you cannot. You have to divorce what he create or help direct and help create. You have to divorce that from the actual creation, because he's not the only one. Certainly he's directing it, so he has a larger control of what eventually comes to be, but you have all the actors and actresses, all the everybody else who's a part of that, and you have to separate that. And I think I've mentioned that before, is that it's a very hard thing to do. Like, for example, Hemingway. I love Hemingway to death. He committed suicide. He shot himself. Mind you, they think that might have been because of the electroshock therapy stuff that he was trying to do to treat his depression and stuff like that. But he shot himself. Boom. Done. End. Game over. But you know what? Even though he had that monster, that horrible specter of thought tainting his life, and whatever words and works that he did with just the specter of depression over him, that doesn't, maybe you could see it. You could certainly see it in things like, look at like Vonnegut's stuff. It's very melancholy. You can see just a sorrow, but that doesn't. just because you can see it and you can attribute it to that, it doesn't. I think I mentioned this before in the political ploy episode with Bradbury's work with Fahrenheit 451. You know, like, where you can't just say, well, this person's this, so it's obviously this, and no. I mean, it's a little bit different now that I think about it, because it was more of people misinterpreting what he said, but it's still in that same kind of vein. You just because you have something there and it's fairly overt, people can misinterpret that, or excuse me, pickles. Can taste pickles now, but that's, I don't know, it infuriates me to see how people try to dress other sides up as these monsters needing to be slain because they are in opposition, and because they're in opposition, it's always for the worse. There can never be anything better, because this is the best, and it's going to be the best because I'm the best, and we're going to keep pushing forward because I'm the best. I'm the best. How many times I say it? But no matter how many times I say it, certainly a lie repeated often enough can sound true, but just because it can sound true or seem true doesn't make it true. I get tired of that. If Ghostbusters is an alright comedy movie, that's fine. Let it be an alright comedy movie. I don't care. I really don't. I mean, if East ends up really disappointing me, I will be honest about that. And of course I have to keep in mind that there's always that subconscious at work that's trying to make you happy. It's this weird little, or maybe the specter's there to try to always make you sad, or maybe the specter's there always trying to make you angry, and that sort of thing. So you always got to keep those sorts of things in check. Not to say that you should never be emotional or anything of the sort, but you always have to kind of keep you always got to keep it open, and come to the realization that people are I don't what's the word I want to use? If I am of average intelligence, half of the world is dumber than me, and then the other half is smarter than me. That's a frightening thought, because there's like 7.5 billion of us, so there's a lot of us. But that's kind of not true. Everybody's kind of got some sort of smart in something, usually. Either some people are very smart emotionally, some people are very smart socially, or technically, and that sort of thing. And so people can become smart in different things. And unfortunately, we just want to see smartness as some sort of umbrella clause. And I think because we do that sort of thing, we start to see, well, we're smart because I'm smart, and I have to be smart because I can't be dumb because I'm the hero. I can't be dumb because I'm the hero. So obviously these other people are dumb, and their opinions are dumb because they're dumb, and they have nothing good to say. And it's please, and I know those who are listening to this probably are not of this camp, and I'm preaching to the choir, but it certainly seems like it's a very small choir. But I guess that's what kind of gets me, is this righteous indignation for what is right. And for example, with the East 8 song, the Nameless Coast theme, first opening field theme and stuff, I'm really digging it. Friends not really digging it so much. Am I gonna sit there and say he's a fool for it? No, he's got different fucking tastes in music. That's okay. That's fine. Much like, but do you need to take into account every single thing that's going on in life? No, obviously not. But people end up doing that sort of thing with just about everything, and I don't know. I really don't know, because I'm certainly not going to try to figure it out with how to get people to stop doing that, because people are always going to do that. you it always kind of aggravates me when you have a side of an argument who tells the other side of the argument that they are dumb, that they are hateful, that whatever, and then expect them to see the light all of a sudden and then understand, well, now that you know, if only you were as smart as I was, what I am, then you would know the my way is the right way. If you saw everything as I see everything, you would know that this is the right way. And that's not, that's how narrow-minded is that in itself, like that to me is just a stunningly, just horrifically narrow-minded idea or narrow-minded concept. Is that I cannot expect you to see these things, opinions and thoughts and on books and ideas and courses of action. I cannot expect you to see them exactly how I see them, and I would not want them to, because that would be kind of creepy, like I don't want, that'd be kind of weird if we all agreed on everything, right? Yeah, because Hive Mind stuff's creepy. Look at the Foundation series, Isaac Asimov, before he died. Of course, he never got to it, but you looked at it. By that fifth book, I think it's the fourth one of those, he's looking at the Hive Mind stuff as something's not right. Can't quite put my finger on it, but something's not right. And that's what you'll end up with. And, of course, you never get to it because he wrote a prequel and then passed away before you got back to it. But that's I guess what I'm getting at is that because of all the things in our lives are certainly, some things can be the same, some things will be very, very different. The problem is that it's not a problem, but I myself am not going to sit there and be like, well, I love East because X, Y, Z and all this sort of stuff. I can rationalize, I can explain why I may like that, but just because I do that does not mean that you should agree, or that you'll come to the same agreements. Maybe you'll like it for, PDQ. I know I just totally did a old zipper joke, but don't care. But, that was the first thing that came to mind. But it's that I'm not going to think that you are less intelligent because you didn't see it that way, or because you played it and you're like, wow, I totally don't agree with you. It's the same thing with like every fucking thing in life. There's like, look at it, look at life, kind of thing. That was kind of weird. Look at it. But and I think that's why I kind of always try to focus on like myths and stuff, because these, Aesop's fables, these are people who are trying to teach lessons and concepts and ideas to their younger generation and stuff. So I don't know. I really I think that I don't know is more because I'm not here to try to force other people to see it the way I'm seeing it. Maybe I'm completely way off, troglodytic way, but that sort of thing. So that is that. We're gonna get into the comments. So if you have any comments, either leave them here, pass them to me on the Twitters, DM me for those. Probably would be better, because I would lose them just because of how much Twitter stuff goes on, and who maybe it might be a week and some days before I can record again and stuff. But Twitter, DM me at Muragaru553, MURAGARU 553. I just said that right for once. But yeah, if you have comments about this or stuff like that, be my guest, comment away, because I really would like to know what people think of this idea. And I know I've probably said things similar to it before in earlier episodes. At least I certainly kind of came to the same conclusion, so obviously not much has changed, but it's only been a few weeks. But I guess Am I way off on this idea that there's too much binary thinking? Let me know. So, yeah, that's that. We'll get into the comments. The song coming up is Smash Up, which is a boss theme. It's good. Let's listen to that. Alright, that there was Smash Up, and to me that's a bit more reminiscent of what they did with Salcedo's Battle number 58. Not quite, but it's got a bit of a, it's got the rock part to it, but it's also kind of anachronistic in its sound. I likes it, and I keep on bumping this thing, just kind of hitting it, smacking. But I enjoy it. I think it's a good one. It's taken me a few listens to kind of really, really appreciate it. But the more I listen to it, the more I like it. I like it a lot. So, comments, which has turned into the Kid Koala show here. Nothing wrong with that. But let's see where I'm at here. And this is coming from the Rambling Weekly 17th episode. As I record this now, there's... Why is there always spam? Why is there always... Oh, man. Okay. For some reason, they keep on... Oh, it's because he keeps on giving... he keeps on giving links to stuff, and they mark it as spam. That's ridiculous. Why do you do this, YouTube? Why do you do this? Anywho, Kid Koala on that episode, which was the emotional weight one, brought up some very good examples of games that do a fairly good job that completely, I guess because I was on rant mode, I went dumb and was like, duh, I can't think of any. Even though the ones he mentioned I've totally played and love. First one here he put comment is Lost Odyssey is the one popping in my head with emotional weight, but for some reason I can't think of a particular moment. If one does come to me later, I will be sure to add it in or make another comment. And then I had mentioned something about, yeah, that certainly got it. I mean, there's a point where Keim's daughter passes away, and that's pretty, you feel pretty sad about that. The memory sequences, those things, like the first one just punches you in the gut, and you're like, oof, that is really, really sad. And then I mentioned that I have got the book, but I haven't even read it. It's like in my carrying case, one that I have with the laptop all the time, and I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Which, he responded here, I will make sure to check this so it is not, I approve this message. And of course it's probably going to make it disappear. Mother! Made it disappear. I knew that was going to happen too. Thank you, YouTube, for being so you. Yes. Alright, let's see. Let me find this thing here. Okay, so, and he put, man, I really wish that book would have come out in English. I learned some basic Japanese last year, and I can hardly remember any of it. That's, unfortunately, you've got to keep up with it. I think that's part, also why I'm enjoying playing 8. It's like, hey, I actually know these words. I am not completely the dumbs yet. So, yeah. But the first Blue Heart's first studio album from '87 is something I listen to on a regular basis. Nice, fantastic. And I mentioned this before on Twitter because I had been on an Anthem kick, and I think I might have mentioned it during that episode. But the Blue Hearts are like a punk Japanese rock band, and they have some fantastic songs. I highly implore you to give a listen to them. So I'm hoping what little remains. So he's listening to them on a regular basis. So I'm hoping what little remains will continue to stay, but I don't have high hope. Practice. Both foreign language teachers that I've had said, you got to at least spend an hour a day practicing. I know that sucks, but when you're not immersed in it, that's kind of what ends up happening. You gotta, So also, this song always makes me think of Lost Odyssey. But when you, not but. There's no but. There's not even a but in it. Why did I put that in there? I like big butts and I cannot lie. You brothers can't deny. Okay, but when you get some free time on your hands, give it a listen and let me know what you think of it. I'm going to click on this and it'll probably make my computer blow up. Okay. I will give this a listen. I'm clicking it. It's Love and More Again. No idea what this is. I don't think I've ever heard of this. So I'm probably going to giggle, aren't I? Or it's gonna be. Oh no, you said it reminds you of Lost Odyssey, so it wouldn't be something I would just giggle at. But yeah, I'll give that a listen, and then I will give comments when I can. The other comment he put was another one just so happened to decided to randomly show up in this thing I call my brain. Don't worry. I was hoping you'd say Brian. Because that's certainly something I do from time to time. But Final Fantasy Tactics, the sad face. I cannot read. That's I think I'm somehow writing a story, but I cannot read. Goodness. The sad fate of House, the Bellevue, Bulbasaur, the Bellevue, I know I'm saying that wrong, but I'm not going to go into detail why, because I'd hate to spoil it for anyone who hasn't gotten around to playing it yet. But if you have played it through, you know what I mean. Also, tactics in general have a lot of emotional moments / weight to it. Yeah, that's like the people who make those, and I cannot remember what the company or the group of characters are off the top of my head. It's one of those things, but they've done Vagrant Story, Tactics Ogre, Tactics Ogre, and those sorts of things. They do a really good job of being a lot more gritty, and I love them for it. I love those games. I love just the to it and stuff, and Tactics certainly had that, just flying all around. And he also, because I made a comment and then he commented back, Final Fantasy Tactics is a beast of a game, and fun fact, it was the very first Final Fantasy game I ever played. Talk about getting getting like a crowning jewel there. For a first game, for a Final Fantasy game, I had to cut my teeth on the old first one there, and there was something interesting, like some Facebook groups that I'm a part of who tried to say that there was like a bug or something in the game. Certainly, the game is not programmed to the best of abilities. Mr. Silver Mongoose and I have had our conversations a bit about that and stuff, but there's no bug, like a game-breaking bug that I'm aware of in that. It can be frustratingly hard. It can be very, very difficult. It can be really, really annoying. Thank you, certain D. Wow, yawning. Thank you, certain D&D rules. But is it not? It can be beaten, because I have beaten it vigorously, repeatedly, over years. But I don't know why I was getting on that tangent, but yeah, I started with that game, and you get to start off with Tactics. It's unfair, totally cheating. I think part of why I have such a low threshold. I shouldn't say threshold, but a low bar when it comes to gameplay itself for games, and I'd be like, this is alright, because I'm used to seeing characters step, step, swing, swing, step, back, back, step, step, swing, swing, back, 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 step, step, cast spell, little magic, woo, 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 shiny, oh, it's glitter, step, back, back. When I get hit, I'm gonna fade in and out real quick, fade in and out. Oh, what? I'm poisoned. I'm just gonna take a knee. Oh, I'm dead. I'm just gonna lay here. That's so. I'm gonna blame that game. I love it to pieces, but I'm gonna blame that game. But that is it for right now. But yeah. So I actually have a comment here. Why does YouTube not tell me when I get comments? Stop doing this, YouTube. It's already hard enough it is to pay attention. Anywho, yeah, let's take the final break and then give the quote and then right off into the sunset. So this song, it's going to be I think it's called Iclucian or Iclucian Dance. So it's a good one. So enjoy it. Welcome back. That was, like I said, Iclucian or Iclucian Dance. I don't know when that plays. I kind of have an idea of when that may play. I'm not going to say because I haven't heard it yet, so I don't want to be caught on tape being the fool because I already do enough as that. See, I can even say things right to be funny. I'm a fool, and I don't need it recorded to be known as the double fool because I already am. Whatever. Anywho, I really like it. The violin to it's very, very for lack of a better word, almost kind of got like a Spanish flair to it. I was gonna say exotic, but that just sounds stupid. It's got a bit of almost like a Spanish flair to it or something, and I like a lot. It's very, very good. And yeah, so the quotes today, I'm gonna be a bit of a bastard and cheat. I actually was going to read that. I'm kind of having like second worries about it, but now that I've scrolled down a little bit, I do not. I was actually going to do something different, but now that I see this, I have found my true answer lying right in front of me, and that comes from George R.R. Martin's A Clash of Kings, part of the Song of Ice and Fire series, Game of Thrones, all that sort of stuff. And this quote, if I recall, Tyrion is saying it. Don't remember at what point and to whom he is speaking with, but I believe this is a Tyrion quote. I don't have it written as a Tyrion quote, I just got it. But anywho, the quote is, when you tear out a man's tongue, you are not proving him a liar. You're telling the world that you fear what he might say. And that is such a delicious quote. I mean, there's some really, really good quotes that come from Tyrion, particularly like the things that people use to mock you that because they're trying to stab close to home, get personal and that sort of thing. Take those things and make them your armor, and then they'll never be able to harm you. That's a paraphrasing of a really cool one. But the one I just mentioned, the whole tearing the tongue out sort of thing, that's so painfully like true, but it doesn't seem to like, I think it's true, but I guess it doesn't really seem like it to some people. Because you have people who will just be like, shut up, blah, 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 don't care. And then they maybe not try to tear out somebody's tongue, but they try to paint, like I said before, paint the opposition as an idiot or uneducated or stupid. It's just the same thing. Or they're spiteful, or they just don't know, that sort of thing. Or they're still infantile, and that sort of thing, still childish, haven't matured, and all that lovable. When basically, ad hominem. And in that regard, when you try to just attack somebody's character to silence them. So maybe not literally pulling out their tongue, but figuratively trying to pull their tongue out or just tape their mouths closed. You're not doing it. You're not proving that their idea is any worse than any other or anything. You're just maybe not necessarily afraid of what they might say, but you have come to the decision that what you say is more true than what they are, and that is a very dangerous path to walk down. It's a very dark one to walk down too, because it's no different than, that's why we had the Enlightenment. It's no different than people trying to say that this part of knowledge is just wrong. It's not the way to go. That sort of thing. Don't do that. Dan rather. Rather not. But that was really terrible. I apologize for that. But yeah, when you try to just silence somebody because they don't agree with you, or because you see your way as more truthful than theirs, that's not really, that's not good. That's really not good. And then when you compound it with a hive mind of groupthink, where they've tribalized the group's thoughts and everything into, it just becomes a problem that's exacerbated, compounded, magnified to an order of whatever. It's and I guess that's why I did this episode, because that sort of thing makes me worried, makes me a little scared, kind of worried about that. Yeah. So that is the quote. The song I'm gonna play out to is titled Corridor of the Lost Ages, and this I've not heard yet in the game as well. I'm going to imagine, and this one I will guess because the other one is a little bit more. I'm gonna imagine this is a little bit further in the game. I could be totally. I mean, just Quarter of the Lost Ages sounds like something that would play towards leading towards things to be uncovered. It doesn't sound like it by the tone of the song, but that's what I get from it. So, yeah, that is it. If you wish to comment, please comment on the YouTube video. If you're not listening to it on the YouTubes, please come and visit the YouTube video to make a comment. I beggeth you, I implores you, I demands it. But more importantly, if more than anything, if you just I can't be bothered to get on YouTube, whatever, send me a DM for the comments and stuff. And if you don't even want to, you can respond anonymously. I will leave people's, if you feel uncomfortable with expressing truthfully about yourself and sort of thing, that way, be in the DM, hey, this is my opinions, just don't tell them who this is giving opinions, and that sort of thing. You want to vent, use me as a microphone, a small microphone, and that sort of thing. At Muragaru553, Muragaru 553, that's a lot quicker. I'm getting it. only about 20 episodes in, but I'm finally getting it. But yeah, so that's it. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your week, weekday, weekend, weeknight, week whatever. And yeah, take it easy.